Pfizer's going to be donating the doses at a not-for-profit price. Let's get right over to Meg Terrell. She has a special guest with us this morning. Meg.
Becky, thanks. That special guest is Albert Bourla, the CEO of Pfizer. Albert, thanks for being with us this morning. Let's start with the news of the day. These 500 million doses add to a previous agreement for the same number. They started shipping last month and will continue over the next year, we understand. Tell us about your expectation for what these agreements will do for the course of the pandemic.
I think they will enable way more equitable access of our vaccines. When we started, Meg, more than a year ago, in the beginning of the pandemic, it was always in our minds that we need to have a vaccine that will be available to all. And the first thing that we had to do was to develop the vaccine, because now it's considered given, but 10 months ago, nobody thought that this could be done. The second was to manufacture enough so that everybody will have. And we are gearing up our manufacturing capacity with very admirable speed. Right now, at the end of the month, we will have manufactured 2 billion doses, 500 of which will be gone to the low and middle income countries. By the end of the quarter, 3 billion doses, 1 billion of which will go to the low and middle income countries. And the third was to set a price that will enable everybody to access. As you know, the price for the high income countries is the cost of a takeaway meal, and this price for the governments, because the citizens are paying nothing. But for the middle-income countries, we are charging half of this price, and the low-income countries, we are charging basically a non-for-profit. The U.S. government is stepping once more. 1 billion doses will be donated to the poorest of the countries, not to the middle and low, to the poorest countries. And that will not be given to them at a non-for-profit price. It will be given free, because U.S. is covering the cost. So I think it is great news for humanity, and frankly, it is great news for us, because we are very proud that our vaccine will save the lives of people around the world.
How do you respond then to criticisms like from former CDC Director Dr. Tom Frieden, who's been pointing out on Twitter over the last week that he thinks this inequity is, quote, shameful. He says, while focusing on selling expensive vaccines to rich countries, Moderna and Pfizer are doing next to nothing to close the global gap in vaccine supply. How do you respond to criticisms like that?
Well, I respond that already we have shipped 500 million doses to low and middle income countries, that we will ship 1 billion doses by the end of this year, not in the near future, by the end of this year. And we will do at least 1 billion doses next year. And I think the facts are speaking for themselves.
Is there more that Pfizer could do? There's also some focus on the infrastructure in developing countries. And there's been criticisms of the Biden administration for delivering perhaps vaccines, but then not delivering the sort of cold chain functionality to be able to store and move those vaccines around, or helping get vaccinators to be able to help roll out these vaccines. What more do you think can be done to expedite all of this?
Clearly, there's more that can be done in terms of infrastructure in the poorest countries, so that they can absorb vaccines of this high technology, that they need special conditions like ultra cold chain, etc. I think this is something that WHO is doing. And this is something that also ourselves, we are working very intensively to help, although it is not, let's say, our direct responsibility, it is to provide the vaccine, but we are working also on the last mile, how we can assist so that they can move eventually this vaccine to the citizens.